What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our ACC football channel.
Mike Norvell barely got off the podium, had to hit the recruiting trail and try to salvage a really good recruiting class that Willie Taggart started to build there at Florida State. We got James Coleman on the line from Fifth Quarter College Football to help us break it down on National Signing Day, number 4 in the ACC, number 21 in the nation, according to 247 Sports. James, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Just signing day is always one of the best days of the year. In particular, now we get to do it twice with early signing period. Makes things a little bit more stressful, but it's also, again, you see young men commit to changing their lives for the next 3 to 4 years unless they hit the transfer.
James, did you expect when there was an early signing period announced and established in December that it would become almost the National Signing Day? I think we had like 80% of the blue chippers of the top 300, the Power 5 guys signed last year, and it seems to be increasing.
No, I actually did. I kind of did, but I didn't. This whole early enrollee thing is still a relatively new phenomenon, but it's really what you have to do with the with school. Especially in the big schools, if you want to come compete early, you got to get that extra spring under your belt. Learn how to go to class, learn how to be a Division I athlete, basically a semi-pro. And I think that's really what's pushing it. And coaches having more control. They know once they get you to sign that dotted line, they know you're stuck into that. Whether that coach gets fired, on Friday, which could happen. A lot of position coaches and a lot of jobs will be shifted here in the next couple of days. I like it because it also locks in the college to a kid to where they can't go and develop a relationship with another 5-star if you're a 3-star and try to flip and then you get bumped out of the class. But at the same time, I think it gives less power to the student athlete. But that's his life. Everything has pros and everything has cons.
James, in a situation like Mike Norvell has to inherit here in regards to transitioning from one job to the other, a different part of the country, different recruiting opportunities because of the brand, he definitely has to hit the ground running and have his time allotted in a certain way and deploy the coaching staff with certain emphasis and certain priorities and really have a plan and make it work and execute in a hurry.
Yeah, which is part of the why I believe, like we had our show, was it yesterday, I believe, with Jason, with Chop Chat. He had brought up a good point. You don't fire a coach 4 weeks left in the season and not make a quick hire or make a splash hire, which I'm not saying Mike Norvell is not a splash hire, but it doesn't give you any true advantage because you lose 4 weeks to recruit because you don't know who's going to fill in and who's that person is going to be. So now he comes in and he has less than 10 days to be able to make things happen because now the next few weeks in December, he gets to redo his board based upon who's available. But the reality is that's a dead period. So you really can't talk or communicate to certain players. And that's a major disadvantage, which I believe is going to probably have to get tweaked a little bit. And you're going to either see more schools keep coaches for a little bit longer than what they would like to, or you're going to see guys do the opposite of what Mike Norvell did. If we're to believe that Florida State really knew this was the only guy they went after, and he already knew, then there's nothing honorable in what he did. He just waited to tell kids that he already coached and recruited that he's going to leave. And he knew he was leaving weeks before that. That's not honorable, nor is it anything to like pat your back on. But you will see guys like Mike Norvell of the future, if they get that offer, let's say the first week in November, they're going to have to make a choice of if they're going to leave their program then and come on board to the new school so that they can go establish their board and spend that time recruiting. Because the way recruiting is now a 24/7 cycle, you've got, when you're not recruiting, you're literally just giving up ground. And you can see how some really good players from Florida State got poached due to a lack of communication, lack of direction. Because the class could be even better had this hire been made a week prior, or maybe that Monday when they were doing the field.
So obviously Norvell was involved in a conference championship game, which may or may not had anything to do with that. But the most publicized of the losses was the quarterback Jeff Sims, who went to Georgia Tech, the 4-star. How costly is that? On the surface, it seems big because Willie Taggart didn't fortify the quarterback position. So to lose a 4-star quarterback seems like a big deal.
It does. And normally it would be a big deal. When Jeff decommitted, that should have been a huge story. It still is a huge story to FSU fans because of how they're handling it and what they're doing in terms of, going back and forth. I hate when people at recruits. Like, let that kid be. He made his decision, and life is great for him, and we've moved on. But the one thing I do believe, he came in and offered every quarterback with a pulse. And he comes in with stats that if you're a quarterback, it's got to give you pause and make you think. I believe the worst quarterback in any of his years being a head coach or coordinator was 3,100 yards, and that's big. I think he says his standard is, or Dillingham said that the standard is 35,000 all-purpose for his quarterback, whether it be running or throwing or passing. So you got guys who are coming in with major stats. And Tate, we call him Roadhouse, but Tate Roddenberger, I think, out of the Valdosta area, really good kid, played against really good competition, 3-star. Probably should. Who cares? I really don't care where he's ranked, but he should be probably a little higher. But he's coming in ready to compete, and the biggest one that right now is there's going to become a little rivalry for the next few years while Norvell's there with Louisville, with him pretty much poaching some of their better players, would be Chubba Purdy from out of the Arizona area, who's a 4-star prospect who is ranked one position in the quarterback group higher than a Jeff Sims. And again, had tremendous stats out in the Arizona area, family full of athletes, father pitched at the University of Miami, his brother plays at Iowa State. So you like those guys who have kind of bloodlines and pedigrees. So he's going to come in with an idea of what it's already like to be a collegiate athlete because his father knew, his father walked it, he got his brother developed, and he's able to ask that. So that comes in with a different preparation mindset. Now, Purdy's not an early enrollee, but Tate is. So what happens when that Tate kid, who's a 3-star, comes in, gets a spring under his belt, he pretty much becomes a 4-star when it comes to the fall because he's already college ready because he has the college reps. Whereas Purdy will come in, I'm sure he's going to be working out and doing whatever he needs to do, but he won't get here until May.
So regardless of the rankings and the stars and all of that, which obviously they mean something, but you've got a different eye for this. So based on what you've seen on tape, based on the people that you trust in their scouting reports, who are the guys that you like in this class?
I like Tate. More than I like Purdy right now. Could be a Southeast bias because of him being in South Georgia. And I know the brand of football that they play. I believe the best states to come out of for football is Florida number 1, Georgia number 2, Texas 3, California 4. I'm sure that's going to get some guys a little riled up in your chat when they hear that. But men lie, women lie. Numbers traditionally don't. And Florida has like the last 6 years has had a 1 to 100 FBS ratio for everybody who's qualified to play football. So I mean, you call it what it is. Now, when I look at this class, you have guys like DeMaurian Tate, one of the top DBs in the nation. Florida State has plenty of young, talented DB. This is a guy who's the young man McKnight from out of Dunbar High School in Florida. Really hard-hitting safety. Probably going to end up being a linebacker. He's already at 200 pounds. Very fast. You got the wide receiver class that Ron Dugans was able to bring in is probably one of the better receiving classes in college football. With a young man, Brian Robinson from out of Palm Beach Lakes, same school that Akeem Dent came from. Very good. All the wide receivers are tall, long, and fast. You've got, I can't think of his name. The wide receiver out of Louisiana, track star. You've got a young man that they just started talking to last week who Florida was looking at, a 3-star wide receiver that they just brought in. But if I had to look at it, I would say Tate, Robinson, McKnight, Rodenberger, or Roadhouse as we love to call them, and Stephen and Dix from out of the Orlando area. Those would be the prospects. Who's a linebacker. Those would be the prospects that I believe have the most immediate impact right away because they're in positions of needs. Now, a miss that we had that we really could have used, even though he's lost weight a little bit and he's a little more undersized than what people previously thought, would be Morven Joseph, a 4-star defensive end, who out of Lake Gibson, who signed to Tennessee. He decommitted from Florida State. Again, he's one of the guys that I believe all that time hurt. He decommitted from Florida State, go to Tennessee, and Jalen Knighton, aka Rooster, who was committed to Florida State since July, and he had the world's longest commitment ceremony to Florida State. Decommitted, went to Miami. He's from Deerfield Beach, pretty much Miami's backyard, and that young man is going to be a good running back. We could have used that because we lack depth, but we have Lawrence Tuafali, who I believe can be a good running back. Reminds me of James Wilder. Has a build like James Wilder Jr., which, depending when you don't have an offensive line, doesn't necessarily translate the best, but we need bodies at the running back position.
Big game, James Coleman. You can catch him on Fifth Quarter College Football. Joins us on a regular basis here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Florida State National Signing Day, 21st in the nation, according to 247 Sports, number 4 in the ACC. James, we know you got a ton going on, so I appreciate you calling in.
No, man, appreciate it, man. Hopefully in 2020, with some of these things slowing down, fifth quarter blowing up, I'll be able to do a little bit more. Fifth quarter, we have now it's a national brand. We have insight on every school in the FBS as well as a few FCS and NFL. So we call it the chat. If you want to join the chat, get recruiting info, recruiting school. Make sure you go. The easiest way is to go at Fifth Quarter CFB on Twitter. Follow that, and then ask to be in the Discord chat. It's $5 a month. You get 2 schools and an NFL team, and you get a chance to get up-to-the-minute information that's different than anybody else. It's not a long articles. It's literally what we call nuggets. We just drop it in there, and then you get an opportunity to discuss with your peers, and a fun platform that, to me, is reminding me of Twitter after dark. Now, sometimes it gets a little bit crazy, but, man, we love everybody. I see what you go through every day now with this chat. We're loving the growth. And one thing we do is we love college football.
That's very cool, James. Again, I know you got a ton going on. Tom Coughlin, no longer with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, fun stuff. Get to talk about that. He pretty much pissed off every NFL player, it seems, which makes it hard to have a franchise where you can't get players.
That's now talk about a nugget. There's one right there on Tom Coughlin, who's obviously very accomplished, but pretty much a hardline guy. And yeah, it's come back to bite him a bit. James, we appreciate you stopping by, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Mark. Talk to you later.